The views and opinions expressed on Wrestling Winedown are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, employer, or company. What's up, guys? It's Lo, and you are tuned in to Wrestling Winedown, a female-founded and hosted podcast dedicated to professional wrestling and our favorite adult beverage. You all have probably heard of the Red Table Talk hosted by actress Jada Pinkett Smith, but I am bringing you the Stone Cold Table Talk, featuring some amazing Black women in the wrestling community, including content creator and podcaster Mimi Chelles, half of Those Wrestling Girls podcast, Miss Queen PR, content creator Lovely Laveau, and model and content creator Court Kim to have a candid conversation about the Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's been 25 years since the historic Austin 316 moment, and we're here to talk about that, as well as the legendary career of Stone Cold, including his in-ring work and now his Broken Skulls sessions on WWE Network. So crack open a can of Steve Weiser. We're going in for the 3 count. We are celebrating Austin 316. It has been 25 years since this iconic moment, and I have brought some amazing ladies here to chat about Stone Cold Steve Austin. We have content creator and podcaster Mimi here, as well as content creator Lovely Laveau. You can go get her Wrestle On t-shirt at whatamaneuver.net. We have half of Those Wrestling Girls, Queen PR here, as well as content creator and model Court Kim. Thank you, ladies, for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
It is Women's History Month, so I wanted to start this episode off by recognizing a couple of women in our wrestling community that you think are just thriving. They're doing well, they have their own platform, and they're just amazing at it. We will start with Miss Queen PR. Who do you have in mind that you think is doing a great job in the wrestling community?
Honestly, so many are doing so many side projects that a lot of people aren't aware of. But of course, who comes to my mind is Sasha Banks, only because the outside perception of her is so different than who she really is. And she's able to kind of thrive in her industry and continues to thrive and has been determined to be the best at what she does, and as well as explore other avenues, which I never thought she would do. So it's really exciting to kind of see her career grow the way that it is. And then the Bella Twins are another set of women that inspire me, simply because, to keep it simple, because I could go on and on, is just their ambition and how they were able to parlay what some would call a mediocre wrestling career into the brand that they've been able to build is really inspiring. So just seeing women thrive in different industries and be strong, be sexy, I'm all for that.
Lovely, what about you? I know that you are friends and you work with a lot of content creators in the wrestling community. Who have you seen lately that just has blown your mind or has caught your attention?
I'm definitely going to go with Kayla Vision. Her and we're like this. And she has taken a small idea and made such a beautiful, blossoming platform. And she's so cute and quirky, but she's able to show that side of her, and it's so well received. I love to see that. I love to see it. And of course, Faye Jackson. That's my girl. She will call me at random times to fuss at me because I'm either not doing enough, not putting myself out there, not selling myself. She really is that voice that I try to be to everybody else. She's mine. She's the one that keeps me going, because sometimes I'm like, all right, girl. So those two really are people that I can call on whenever I need them. And just seeing what they're doing is fantastic.
Court, what about you? I know you are pretty new to the wrestling world, getting involved with content creators, but who have you seen so far that you like to work with, or who has inspired you?
You're right. I am a newbie to this arena. And to be honest, I know this will sound silly, but you are my inspiration in regards to just stepping my foot into this realm. If you guys don't know, obviously, I'm a new wrestling fan, and it has honestly taken over my life. And the day that Lori even approached me to even speak to me about my knowledge of wrestling, I was just so honored that she even took me that seriously. And she's one of the best interviewers ever. I interview a bunch of like celebrities all the time, and she is like one of the very few people that has interviewed me where I like learned something from her. And every time like we chat, I always leave with something new, and I feel like I've learned something from her. So I have to give you your flowers where they're due. And on the other tip of things, if we're talking just like about like female like superstars right now, Bianca Belair is just really such a light in this SmackDown lineup. Oh my goodness. She's really the reason why I am just so mesmerized with the art form that it is. She's so strong. She is gorgeous. She like exudes just like Black excellence, like from like the head to her toes. And then God knows what she's going to do at WrestleMania, which we cannot, oh my goodness, the fact that it's 2 Black women main eventing, it's just fabulous. And she is just going to be somebody that is going to continue to be such a trailblazer and an influence amongst everybody. So, yeah.
Thank you for your kind words. I know I like teared up a little bit. I'm like, okay, now.
Oh, I didn't mean to make you cry.
Mimi, who has inspired you lately? Someone that you've worked with or someone that you have had the opportunity to meet?
So I'm going to kind of touch on Court, and I'm going to touch on Miss Queen PR. Bianca Belair, I was not a fan in the beginning. I just kind of felt like the character was a little stereotypical, but then for some reason, I don't know when it was. I can't even tell you when it was. She turned me as a fan, like completely. And the fact that going to Queen PR, she has a brand and she's going into WrestleMania. She's taking this whole character. It's like her business, you know what I mean? And she has molded it to something that I love brand stories. She's like almost like the perfect brand story. She's doing these podcasts. She's doing these roundtables. She is just presenting and representing us as Black women the way we should be and real. You know what I mean? Like keeping to her character, not being fake, not being like over the top, just being Bianca Belair. Like the person that we see on screen is the person that she is in real life, it kind of feels like. And even with her heel, you can tell like she's got a little sass to her and she don't play that. And she's just keeping it even keel. She's keeping it unapologetically real. And that's what I love about her. Going back to Court's point, Issa Ramos is somebody that I met her in 2011 online. Roman Reigns was our mutual like connection to each other. And we've been friends since 2014. And she has, during this pandemic, she's a career woman as well. During this pandemic, she decided to go just full on after being laid off from her job. And she has turned her brand as a content creator around in less than 6 months. There were times where she didn't want to get up and do stuff. We encourage each other. And the fact that some days she's like, Mimi, I don't want to listen to you right now. I don't, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, you look at her YouTube and she's got like 1,000 more followers. And I just feel like as a person living in this environment, being able to turn her whole situation around, not that she was struggling or anything, but just not wallowing in it and just making it her thing. And again, going back to the brand thing, creating her own brand. Now she's on Wrestle Inc. She's doing stuff with Fightful. I just admire that. I admire people that basically step up, don't wallow, and just keep going. Same thing with you, Lovely. Like you turned your bead business. Like I saw before I started following her, I would see a couple of posts and then like, look at this, like everybody, to the point where I thought she did boxes. I was like, oh my God, you do boxes? You know?
Can I get one?
Yeah, right, exactly. So I admire women that will not sit in a box, will just take their circumstances and just make it for them and make it for what they want it to be on their time, on their dime. Like, you know what I mean?
I love conversations like this, and I feel bad. I automatically went to wrestlers, but there are so many female-driven brands out there that have grown since the pandemic that I've watched blossom. And even on a personal level, like with Lovely, who I love, it's been amazing. So shout out to all the women that have.
Don't make me cry, y'all. I'm not doing this with y'all. I'm not crying today.
I was very intentional when I gathered these group of women here. As you all can see, we're all Black women, and I had done a panel before and it was very diverse, but I knew I wanted something that showed representation, and that's why I gathered you group of ladies, and we all have the common interest of Stone Cold Steve Austin. So we're going to get right into it. Looking back on this moment 25 years ago, what emotions do you have watching it now? Do you still feel the same way you did?
That glass breaks every time.
I get chills. Literally, I get chills to this day. I get the same reaction to the glass shattering as I do when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. Like, no lie. And I was able to finally see him live, 2019. And yes. And at MSG at all places. And I'm like literally getting chills. And if I tear up, I apologize. But as a wrestling fan, like I felt like I can die. Like, right. Thank you. Everything is, you know what? I've seen everything I needed to see.
I was at that show and I was at that show with Issa. And we magically got these ringside seats, you know, with the ones that you take your chair with you. And when he came out, I couldn't bring my phone out. I couldn't do anything. And she just took my phone and she just recorded the whole reaction. It was absolutely amazing. That man, I've been there when The Undertaker has done his entrance. I don't feel any kind of way the way I feel about Stone Cold Steve Austin when that glass breaks. And when I felt it live, I was like, oh my God, just like her. I was like, I can die now.
Yes. Oh my God. When I watch Stone Cold Steve Austin, for me, it's just such, I don't know. I get excited each and every time that you hear the glass shatter. You just know that his energy, it is so heavy, and you can feel that through the screen. It really does not matter. Like the fact that it was like in the 90s and it still resonates, like his character. Let's talk about that. Like the idea of having a man like representing like American like disdain for like working for the man, and like seeing that every single week and watching him kick butt every single week and giving it to Mr. McMahon. It really just does something for the soul. It brings it alive. And realistically, like Steve Austin is a showman through and through, especially the way that he speaks and the way that he talks to the people. I'm pretty sure y'all probably know this, but before WWE, he was in ECW, and Paul Heyman, he specifically hired him just to like do promos. And that was it at the time. And that was like that little weird in-between stage of WCW and now WWE. And he just knew what to do. And he always freestyled all of his promos. No one wrote a script for that man. And you could tell because he knew exactly where he was going. He knew where his intention lied. And you could feel that with everything he does. Like, what's not to love about this man?
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is, especially with this group, we're all Black women. So the fact that all of us can resonate with a Caucasian, bald, redneck man.
That's like the elephant in the room.
and you know, I am the elephant picker. I'm going to pull the elephant out. So the fact that fact alone shows you what he was and what he still is. I remember I watched the pay-per-view with the Jake the Snake promo with the Austin 316. I was a little lad. But I was still here watching it. And the intensity, because growing up, my mother's side of the family is really religious, of course. So that shocked her. But I was like, ooh. So even looking back at it now, when I watch it now, like I posted something the other day on my Instagram with a snippet of that promo, and it still gives you chills because he had the gall to say something that outlandish, and then it stayed the course. Like I've been able to see him thankfully in matches before he retired. I've been able to see him post retirement, and you wouldn't expect for him to have the energy that he does in person. Like what we see on TV, it resonates. I compare him to like a white redneck Jill Scott, because if you've ever seen Jill Scott in concert or anything, she has energy that kind of slaps you out from the stage.
Church.
Same thing. That when that glass breaks, like you can be at your house and somebody drops a glass and you looking around like that says something from day one, from from like Court said, from ECW, from even WCW, having the knowledge of him and seeing how he's grown and come into himself, from the Hollywood Blondes to Stunning Steve, all of that, and then you finally see the full scope of Steve Williams, Stone Cold Steve Austin, whoever he wanted to identify himself as at that time. It was so real, and you can feel it, especially now that we work and being Black in most of us male-dominated industries. You feel that, and that's why I feel it resonates so much. Because a lot of sisters love Stone Cold, and I never understood why until I started to move up the corporate ladder in certain things, or move up in wrestling, doing things behind the scenes. You're like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense. That's my man.
Any of you guys met Stone Cold? Please tell us. Please tell us. How was that experience?
All right, so I'm gonna send y'all the picture later. So the jacket, he signed the jacket. He signed the jacket. I met him in New Orleans for WrestleMania, and he was like a last minute addition to WrestleCon. As soon as I saw him, I was like, I don't care what we got going on. It was right before Mania, like right before the show. I was like, dude, I'm going. I don't care what I got to do. I was cool in the line. I had my belt, had my jacket ready to get signed up. I was like, fangirl, turn up. Girl, as soon as he said, come on up, boohoo crying. And I mean crocodile tears, to the point that my lashes started to fall off. And he was like, calm down. He said, I'm just a bald white man. It's okay. And he gave me like the biggest hug. And you wouldn't think that Stone Cold Steve Austin was that warm, but when I tell y'all, that is one of the nicest experiences I've ever had with a wrestler. And that for that to be your favorite, and you have that kind of experience. And before they took the picture, I was like, are my eyelashes on straight? He was like, I think so. I was like, I love this man. I'm gonna send y'all the picture.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Y'all.
That's so
for him to fix my eyelashes, that meant something to me. I don't.
He be knowing. Okay.
That meant 100%. Y'all wait till y'all see that picture though, because I look terrible. It's like full blown tears. It was gross.
So sweet.
It's interesting that you say that, because I had Queen of the Ring on, and we had talked about Shawn Michaels, and I had asked her, had she ever met Shawn? And she said no. And she said, because what if he's having a rough day, and that's her impression of him for, the rest of her life, that he wasn't a positive person in person. So I'm glad to hear that your Stone Cold interaction was amazing, and that's something that you'll remember forever.
That was my fear. That was also my fear when I bought the tickets. I was like, please let this man be nice, because I don't want this to be real. Because I didn't get a chance to meet Randy Savage, who is like, him and Stone Cold like my 1A and 1B favorites. So I was like, okay, I've met The Undertaker, I've met Shawn. I need Stone Cold to do what I need him to do. It was probably the best experience I've ever had, second to Bailey. Yeah.
How do you think a moment like Austin 316 would be accepted by the WWE audience today? We know that WWE is more, quote unquote, PG now. They really are catering to their younger audience. They still do have some provocative stuff here and there, but you can tell that they're making a very conscious effort in what they put on television to appeal to all demographics. Do you think a moment like this would do well now?
I think so. I only think so because I feel like they have to push the envelope a little bit, and they've been doing that. I don't think to the magnitude of how it was before, but I think they would try to push it a little bit more. I think so.
I saw Queen and I saw Lovely shake their head no.
Everyone's so sensitive these days, like for good and bad reasons.
Yeah.
But I just feel like everything in WWE now is so scripted that if they scripted it, it would have just came off like bad and cheesy. But what made the promo originally work was that it came off so authentic, and it was during a time where there was like some room to like experiment. So I either see WWE not pulling it off right, or the fans not recepting it well.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. And of course, with the promos now, 95% of them are scripted. So, and we've seen time and time again that when you have something that's over authentic to WWE lately, and then they try to control it, it kind of goes in the toilet. So Stone Cold, him, and I'm going to say another one, The Rock too. I don't think if they were in this time period, it would work the way that it did then, because the Attitude Era was right in the middle of, the Jerry Springer time when everything was crazy. They had everything on TV. That's why it worked so well. Yes, everybody's a lot more sensitive to things now. Yeah, we should never do that again. Like that was a once in a lifetime thing. That can't ever be duplicated. You can't script that.
Right.
No, it was just everyone just made valid points. Cause like at first I was like, maybe people want excitement, but then I'm like, wait, we're in 2021 where everything is very under like a microscope, and anything that comes out a little sideways, like nitpick, like immediately. And just to bring points back to the lovely women here, the wonderful aspect of that promo in general is the fact that it was freestyled. You felt that energy, like he was talking his stuff, and he was really about it. He was tired. He was frustrated. He's like, y'all are going to see that I'm about to whoop that, you know what? And he did not come to play. He did not come to play. And I'm not sure if like that would resonate now because of how scripted everything is. I wish, I don't know. I kind of miss freestyle, the promos. Like that's where I feel like that's where we kind of got to see like wrestlers for who they were. Like that's where we got to see the personalities. They need to do more of that. But hey, well, probably not. We'll see.
When did you all become Stone Cold Steve Austin fans? I started watching like 9-10 years old, and I've pretty much been a fan of WWE since, but it seems as though when I was around 17 or 18, that's when I started becoming a fan of him. I felt like WWE wasn't really showing him in like 2006, 2007, but gradually, he's come in for guest appearances. They have him on the network now for his Broken Skull sessions, and we've seen more of him. It seems like WWE is more accepting of having him on their platforms. But when did everyone else become fans? We'll start with you, Mimi.
So I've been a wrestling fan, probably older than all of you here, but I've been a wrestling fan since I was 9. When my son was born in 2004, I had a regimen for him. I lived in DC and I had a regimen for him. He had to be in bed at 7 o'clock every night as a baby because I just wanted to, and on Monday nights after I would put him to bed, there was one specific Monday night, I put him to bed and cleaned up the house and I turned on the TV because I had stopped watching TV because I was in the streets. So I stopped watching TV, wrestling for a while. And so I turned on the TV and it was the promo with him. I think it was the promo with him they were in the ring. And he was going back and forth with Mr. McMahon. And I was just like, what is this? This is still on? Like, I couldn't believe that wrestling was still on. So ever since that day, every Monday nights or whatever night that it used to come on, I would put him to bed and I would watch. And I was just infatuated with him. I was infatuated with him and I was infatuated with China. I just could not stop watching it. I could not stop watching it. It was just, and I think it came on like really late back then, like 9 to 11, I think it was doing. I was enamored. I
like she said she was the oldest. I think we kind of right here with it. I started watching wrestling in 92. So
okay,
I was Macho Man down to the socks. Okay. I saw him and Brian Pillman. They had just got together as the Hollywood Blondes. And I was just like, they're funny. They're cool. And then I just remember seeing him sporadically. I remember when he was with Ted DiBiase, I was like, hey, that's the guy that was with the curly hair dude. Young kid. I don't know what I'm talking about. So he was a curly hair dude at the time. So if I'm honest with you, because I was watching that pay-per-view, that King of the Ring pay-per-view,
Mm-hmm.
That was the moment because of how shocked my mother was when he said that. That's what did it for me. And then when they started implementing the Bret Hart feud, because y'all know by now I have a huge disdain for Bret Hart. And that just kicked it up for me. And then, of course, the McMahon thing. I don't think we'll ever see a feud that will top Austin and McMahon ever. There's nothing that's going to touch that. The Rock and Triple H are really close, but that right there, that signed me up for life. That feud, I was like, oh, I got to get this dude tattooed on me somewhere. He got Anybody that's beat up your boss?
Right.
So I started watching wrestling like around 96, 97. But the moment that I became like a stan for him was when he saved Stephanie McMahon from getting married to the Undertaker, or I don't know if she was kidnapped or something like that, but all I know is me and my twin sister at the time, we're 6, 7, 8 years old and this is happening, was so invested in all the storylines to where we would like stay up late at night and like really be like, okay, like, so did Undertaker really like leave his brother? Like, you know, like we were really into it. So when Stephanie got kidnapped, we were like all in invested. We were just like, oh my God, like Stephanie and Vince. I mean, Linda and Vince are probably so worried about her, blah, blah. So like, I was really worried about Stephanie McMahon. And when she was like about to get hurt and that glass shattered and Stone Cold saved her, I was like, oh my God, see, this is why. And then literally that was when I just was all in, middle finger up at school. Like, I was like, all in, like.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's great.
Let's see. For me, I guess like my first exposure to Steve Austin, like genuinely was like as a pop culture figure. So I always saw him in my childhood and I was like, nah, this guy is cool as hell. And I just didn't know why though, because obviously I wasn't watching yet.
Right.
But let's see, I started watching wrestling heavily in 2018. And my fiance told me specifically, Cortland, you want to just take time within the Attitude Era. And so that's what I did. I did my homework. And Steve Austin, when you see him, he just catches your attention. For me personally, if there's like a specific moment I can pinpoint it, I really enjoyed the entire spiel with him and Mike Tyson and Shawn Michaels. That was a star-making moment because in order for you to like have Mike Tyson on the show as much as they did, and to have somebody measure up with that level of like gutsiness and attitude and just moxie, all these things, like Steve Austin was able to hold his own with one of the most iconic boxers in the world. And if that didn't tell you right then that he was a star to be like reckoned with, like everything after that just solidified it. I just love watching any like Monday Night Raw for him. I'll literally just watch it for him sometimes. So I'm satisfied. I'm clean. You know? I really just adore him. Like it doesn't make sense to me why I adore him so much, but he's just such a magnetic performer and an amazing interviewer. Oh my God.
Oh my God, he's so good at it. Even back to his podcast before, he's like really good.
He's a talker. Like that talking is just in him. And when I tell you he can get those questions and make you want to engage with them, I'm like,
right.
I'm watching Broken Skull like
Right.
It's a talent, really. It's an art form. Like that's what I like try to strive to do within my interviews. It's like asking the questions that like showcases that you really care about your interviewees, and then coming upon it like that versus asking typical questions. Like he's fabulous all across the board.
What qualities have kept you guys interested or even being a Stone Cold fan? Like I mentioned, he's been out of the ring. We see he's on the network now. You guys mentioned his interviewing skills, but what keeps you interested? What makes you want to go watch those interviews with like Sasha Banks, which was a very good one, and his other endeavors that he has? I know he has a show on the USA Network. He's doing other stuff. What keeps you interested at the end of the day?
He's just entertaining. He like Court was saying, like he just knows what to say, how to say it, and how to keep you engaged. Like even with that Charlotte, this last one, with what is that, the Broken Skull Ranch? And I'm not really into reality and those types of shows, but I was hooked on it because he had interesting people. So he doesn't shy away from staying within the norm. He's always coloring outside the lines, and he keeps you engaged. Like, out of all the legends, I will listen to his podcast. I will watch his anything, any content that he creates, I will watch, because it's entertaining and it's engaging as a fan and as just a regular person that's just watching.
100%. I think, and then you definitely hit it as far as like the legends are concerned. I think for me, what really keeps me engaged with him is that Stone Cold that we fell in love with has been the same Stone Cold we've seen over the last 25 years. And although he's still been that same bad, I don't know if I can say that, but I'm sorry if I can. He's been that same one, but you've seen him grow and mature into an older man who's become a little warmer, a little more nurturing. You see that he's always been transparent with us, no matter what, from the negative things that have been said about him, his personal alcohol issues, the domestic disputes, all of those things, he's always been transparent with the fans. So there's nothing that we can ever say that he shied away from or he didn't post. He's always been truthful. And I think when you have a solid fan base like that, that transparency is what's going to keep people engaged. You know what I mean? He'll tell you, I was an alcoholic and I did some things that I am not proud of, but I did them and I own them. And you've never heard those stories again. He grew.
Yep.
So the fact that you can stay true to who you are, but then also grow and elevate, for me, being the person that I am, and anyone who's talked to me on a regular basis, I shoot straight from the hip, but it comes from a place of love. So I can resonate with that as a 34-year-old. You know what I mean? So I ain't going nowhere. That's my man. That's my guy.
I think I recently sort of fell in love with him recently, is just seeing, like, you touched on it, Lovely, like how warm he is now. Like, you can tell he's having fun in the wrestling business. And it was it might have been Legends Night in like the last 2 or 3 years where he got like a little drunk at one of his appearances. And you see the videos backstage of him just having the time of his life. He's interacting with everyone. And it just made me be like, okay, like, this is someone I want to know as a person, despite, you know, who he is. And I haven't always been a fan, because I got into wrestling at a young age. I was never always a fan of like certain kayfabe being broken. Like, we talk about Undertaker all the time. I really wish I never knew who the he was person. But Stone Cold is someone that I have really enjoyed getting to know over the years, and being able to see him, you know, big up these wrestlers like Sasha and Bailey, for example, who also grew up the era that we did, and sitting across from them and praising them, and just giving that next generation that same like attention to their mood. Like, he remembered, you know, finishes that Sasha did in matches, and she's just like, whoa, like, you really pay attention, and he gives real feedback. And just what he's been able to do now, I think, is so cool. And that makes me want to just continue to follow him for, you know, whatever he does. Dope that he was able to finally come out with a beer. Like, he's just been able to do so many cool things, and he's happy and he's enjoying himself, and I love to see it.
Steve Austin, he's like larger than life, right? But he ultimately has this humility that I think all of his fans are like, they automatically, like, they resonate with that. And for me, it's why I love him so much. Throughout, I guess, the years of just watching his matches, to what he does with his interviews, what he does with his IPA beer, which I hear is delicious. I will totally try it one day. It's really cool to watch somebody like stay true to self, and yet still like watching that person evolve into like an even better person. And I see that with Steve Austin like 1,000%. And I see it specifically with his interviews. To me, he truly cares about the superstars of now. He is watching everything, and he's very into detail, and they love it too. They're just like, oh my goodness, like, my hero watches my stuff just in the same way that I watch his stuff. And I know, like, I don't know, I kind of get goosebumps thinking about it, because it takes a special person to just remain magical like that for 20 plus years, and to continue, and to have that continue on with his new endeavors. It's just different ways to like consume the man. And it's just very fast. And it's wonderful to see what he does next, because it seems like he can do it all.
Right.
And
It's not done.
that is something that like money cannot buy you, for real. Like that is somebody that is a true showman, through and through.
And can we talk about how the man has remained as good looking as he has over these years?
Oh my God.
Yes.
I know I can't be the only one, because y'all know I'm very pro-black, but
no,
he's fine. He's so fine.
He comes out with those jeans, them tight jeans, that black shirt, and they go backwards. I'm like, all right,
like
him.
Him topless, like with that nice leather vest on with those jeans.
Don't forget the chain.
Okay.
Yes. The chain. Brian Pillman actually gave him that chain, and he still wears it.
Oh,
but when I tell you, it's something about the black shirt and the chain and the jeans. I'm like, Steven, listen, we just gonna have to talk to the ancestors about this. Oh, he's beautiful.
He's so fine.
Yeah.
Do you think we will ever see a defiant and badass superstar, male or female, in the WWE like Steve Austin again? Becky Lynch was, I guess, compared to him for a while there after she was punched in the face by Nia Jax. People said, oh my God, that's her Stone Cold moment. Now she's going to be like Stone Cold. Do we see anyone being like him ever again? Or do you think he is like that best of all time, greatest of all time when it comes to being a defiant badass?
The closest we would have seen would have been Kevin Owens if they'd have let him keep going in that era. That if they would have stayed on that lane, Kevin, no one will ever hit that magnitude. But if we had like a second coming of Stone Cold, Kevin Owens would have been the perfect person. You know, Becky's run with that was cool. That was not Stone Cold-esque. I don't know how people put that together. I was befuddled, but okay. But Kevin Owens would have been the perfect one.
Yeah.
And I don't see anyone else that I could compare to him. Just because of the mic work, the in-ring skill that he has, the stage presence that Kevin Owens has, and then if you meet him, he's the nicest man you'll ever meet. So I think they really dropped the ball with Kevin.
I agree with that too, and I didn't really get the comparison either. I mean, if they wanted to compare like pops, if they wanted to compare like the anticipation of Becky's music hitting during a show, I could see that. But what Stone Cold Steve Austin did at that time, like, can almost like never be duplicated simply because of the time that it was. It happened organically. It happened authentically. Vince McMahon did not plan to be the best heel in the business. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't like something that was like in a writer's room, like, okay, that road to WrestleMania felt very forced and very, some of it did, or like her driving herself in an ambulance to the hospital and driving herself back in the ambulance. Like, to me, that was them forcing that narrative of like that larger than life thing, and it like kind of lost me a little bit. So I can see why people would kind of say it, but I don't think so. It can never be.
I don't think so either. I think I don't like comparing the superstars to the legends, only because the current superstars to the legends, only because I feel like they're just doing their own thing. This is their version of who they are. They should not be compared. I never saw that comparison with Becky and Stone Cold. I too was, what word did you use?
Befuddled.
I too befuddled. I just never saw that. I like that Becky like turned her character around, but I didn't see it Stone Cold-esque at all. And defiant, we can see, I think all of the superstars are being defiant in their version of defiance, in my opinion. So again, it can't be duplicated at all.
It's hitting the same points for me. When I saw that Becky Lynch was being compared to Steve Austin at all, that was like, huh? You know, I was like, excuse me, jazz music stops. Because it's like, that's not what it was giving, and that's okay. But like, to make a comparison like that is like a disservice to what Becky Lynch does, and ultimately to what Steve Austin has built. if we talk about just like the concept of the characters of Steve Austin, like the qualities of him just being against like the man and like in general, just being against like establishment, just being like a hellraiser all the way around. I think that like, I don't know, this might sound crazy, but to me, I think that character right now would be a breath of fresh air in WWE. And especially right now with the times we're living in, with this pandemic that we're living in, the fact that like, you know, our government takes forever and a damn day to implement stimuluses to like American citizens. There's some similarities of people being frustrated right now. There's similarities of people being upset just about like the structure of America. So I think that it would be kind of interesting to see that again, just in general, just that energy, that aura. But are we going to have that? That I don't know. That means WWE is going to give more creative control back to their people. You know, there's a lot of things have to happen. Like Steve Austin was in control of his stuff and he was given the leeway to do so. That's the difference here. So WWE, if somebody's watching, come on, you know, let them do their thing.
Yeah. Let them hire one of us if they are watching. Hire one of us.
Hire us.
We are
right. I think he created the Mr. McMahon character. Like he made that character.
Yes,
you know
he did.
And he was able to, Mr. McMahon was able to keep that up, but I don't think that it was defined before then, you know, and he defined the character in my opinion. So
yeah,
you're right.
If you even think about the other feuds that Vince McMahon had with other superstars, it almost felt uncomfortable. Like the program he did with Shawn Michaels with the whole religious thing, it was very uncomfortable. Even as someone who wasn't heavily religious, it was just overly forced to where that feud with him and Austin was so real because that's really how. If you look at interviews of people who used to work there, that's how they felt about him. So it was so real. So I don't think we'll ever get it again. Like I said, the closest thing would have been Kevin, but that ship has sailed. So we're just stuck.
Yeah, I think also wrestling fans are like almost too smart. Like they would have to get real creative. Like if Andrade was better on the mic, like I will believe him feuding with management. He asked for a release. He's actually unhappy. Like, ooh. But now it's like when somebody beefs with management, it's like, y'all wrote that.
Right.
I don't have that same like, oh my God, maybe for kids. And you know, and I like to be fair with the audience that WWE is trying to reach. Like not all wrestling fans are 30-year-old wrestling media people. You know what I mean? I get that too. But there's like, we know what's up. Like,
yeah, the amount of information that's out there for us in social media has kind of ruined the aura of it, especially those of us who are a part of it and doing the content or working with the wrestlers. It makes you almost struggle to be a fan now because like, you know too much and you just like
as a kid I believe Stone Cold Steve Austin got arrested. Like I really like in between now, like that week he was in jail and then he
trying to get ready together to bail him out. Like
and even as an adult, you still feel that like same feeling as you felt when you would watch him as a kid. Like that's the real difference. Like that man really knew how to like bring chaos to the people every week. And we loved him every time.
It's really interesting that you guys brought up the dirt sheets and how it's almost ruined watching wrestling. Like I think about, this is unrelated, but when Vince McMahon's limo blew up, I was in tears, okay? Like I thought that actually happened, but now you think about it, if something like that were to happen today, it would be on one of these wrestling rumor websites. And it ruins it for obviously us older fans, but I always wonder how it is for kids watching if they weren't on those websites or they didn't know where to find this information. How do they feel watching this type of stuff? Do they enjoy seeing the mystery behind the characters or not knowing what's actually going on behind the scenes?
I can go on days about these dirt sheets. I hate them. I hate them with all my heart. I don't read them. When people quote them, I type it because, you know, they say it's good for the soul when you type it and then delete it. Like, you know, because I don't want to give off too much negativity, but negativity at all. But it pains me that, you know, the curtain has been opened and for me, I just put myself in this box and it entertains me for what I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's why I don't go on these sheets at all. I don't subscribe. I can't.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, like Lo was saying, when you were talking about the limo blowing up, right?
Mhm.
A more realistic version of that shows what we're saying, how behind the scenes ruin things. You remember when Braun Strowman was lifting the cars,
Yeah.
flipping and because he's a strong man and because we know that he can pull those vehicles and stuff, it's like, okay, this is realistic. Until someone shows a picture of the lever lifting the truck.
Thank God I didn't see that.
Like, come on.
Thank God
It's just
I did not see that.
That's like saying Santa Claus is not
It's
real to a
fake,
kid.
right.
Like, let it rock. Let it rock.
It's taking the magic away from like what the program ultimately is. Like, do not show us that. Like, it's
And I don't know why he's kissing babies and shaking hands. Let him just flip trucks. Why are we doing anything else, guys?
Right.
And then it makes it hard for them to create their character. And then next thing you know, WWE that can't create characters. No, it's really not really WWE that's supposed to be creating their characters. It's the characters that's it's them. The superstars have to create their own characters. How can they do that?
Exactly.
When you're in their business? Like, stop.
Please.
Praise. Say that.
I digress.
No, that's real though. Like,
seriously.
Oh my God.
I can't believe it has been 25 years since this historic moment, Austin 316. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me here today. Where can the people find you on social media? We will start with Court.
You can find me, Court, at the Court Kim on Twitter and Instagram. I am currently a freelance culture journalist, and I also model. So, like, hit my inbox and hire me. Okay.
Yay! Yay!
So you can find me personally at Queen3_PR on all social, but definitely follow those wrestling girls. Shout out to Krista B on all the platforms. We have a new episode out about the women that are in the Hall of Fame and the women that should be in the Hall of Fame. So if you haven't already, check that out. And then we have a Women in Wrestling panel coming up next Saturday on the 20th at 3 p.m. streaming live. So we hope you can join us for that. Thank you for doing this. This was really dope. We don't talk a lot about male wrestlers on our show. So to talk about like my all-time fave has like been everything.
You can find me at I am Mimi Chelles on Twitter, and it's Mimi Chelles on Instagram. And on Thursdays, me and Issa, we do a show on stereo on the Stereo app, Thursdays at 8:00, called Super King Heels.
Well, you can find me everywhere. It's the Black Brewhouse with the blue hair. You can find me on Twitter as Low Blue. It's LOBL. Wait, BLUU. I had to change my Twitter. Or you can find me on Instagram under Just Me Lovely. Of course, I do freelance and writing, helping out with a lot of the indie wrestlers with their bookings. Of course, the Beating, Lovely Wasted Adornments. If you ever need anything, I can help you out. If you need wigs made, I can make your wigs. If you need a spiritual guru, I can help you with that. So hire me for a lot of stuff.
That's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wrestling Winedown. You can find all of our other episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you listen to your podcast. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at WWDCAST. Our new website is also coming soon. Let us know what you thought about the episode. What was your favorite part? We upload episodes with brand new co-hosts every week. Until next time, enjoy your wine and, of course, enjoy your wrestling. Cheers!